Greetings everyone, and welcome back to another in-depth phone review, the usual one you would see from me, and this time we have a phone from a manufacturer that I have known of for quite some time, but never really took the opportunity to look at one, and today is the day we look at a phone from CUBOT, who have been kind enough to send me their newest mini phone, simply called the Pocket. So a massive thank you to CUBOT for sending me this phone out to review. I really do appreciate it, and I will do my absolute best to deliver an honest review of this device, and all opinions within this video will be my own, and CUBOT has not paid me for doing this review. I just want to make that perfectly clear. A link will be left in the description below so you can check out the phone if you think it's something you may be interested in. It is not an affiliate link, so I will not earn anything from any purchases or clicks. It's just there for your convenience. If you want to jump onto Google, have a Google search for it, feel free. Before we continue on, I will remind newer viewers and regular viewers know the drill about what I'm going to talk about next, and that is the included timestamps and chapters that are down in the description and pinned comment below. My videos are very in-depth and I like to cover everything on a device ranging from benchmarks to the teardown, so if you don't want to have to sit through the entire review, I'll leave those timestamps for you so you can skip to wherever you need to be. It is absolutely understandable if you need to use them. That is why they are there. Alright, so let's take a look at the listing on AliExpress. It is called the CUBOT Pocket Android Mini Smartphone 2022 NFC support, 4GB RAM, 64GB ROM, 128GB extended, 4-inch screen, 3000 mAh, Face ID, and is currently selling for $192.78 Australian, so rounded up to $193 Australian, and I will display a currency conversion chart on screen so you get an idea of how much this phone will cost around most of the world. Free shipping for everywhere as well, which is good. It is currently on sale, and there's also some store coupons you can use, so any saving is better than none, as I always say. And from the title we get a brief rundown of the specs, being a mini phone with NFC, 4GB RAM and 64GB of storage. Now while I'm talking about the price of the CUBOT Pocket, for an extra $65 or so, you can actually buy the Poco M4 Pro 5G with 4GB of RAM and 64GB storage, 5000 mAh battery, but it's a 6.6-inch display that's on this thing, so definitely far from a pocket-sized device. However, CUBOT's selling their King Kong Mini 2 rugged phone, which has a 4-inch display. It's waterproof. It does have 3GB RAM and 32GB of storage, but it's only around $147 Australian. So yes, you do lose 1GB of RAM and 32GB of storage if you went with the King Kong Mini 2, but that's the cheapest mini device from CUBOT at the moment, and it's rugged and waterproof. So you have some options to consider first before you think about the CUBOT Pocket. The CUBOT Pocket's a bit more powerful and has slightly better specifications, but you do save $50 with the King Kong Mini 2. I love that they called it King Kong and it's a mini phone. I see what they did there. It's kind of cool. But let me go into the full specifications for the CUBOT Pocket. We do have it in 3 colors, and I was hoping for the red colorway. However, I got the black one, but that's completely fine. You can also bundle this with a CUBOT smartwatch in the AliExpress choices if you wanted to. The build of the phone is entirely plastic with a textured back and textured sides and a glass front, but it's unspecified if it's using Gorilla Glass. The dimensions of the phone are also displayed on screen, and just in case you missed it, this is a small phone, which honestly is increasingly rare to find from companies, so we'll see how this one goes. The system on chip is the Unisoc Tiger T310 quad-core processor with a PowerVR Rogue GE8300 GPU. The system on chip is from 2019, so it's not exactly top spec, but for a pocket device on a budget, this will be more than enough, but I will test out gaming and more during this review. The phone has 4GB of RAM and 64GB of internal storage, which can then be upgraded to an additional 128GB via a microSD card. The display is a 4-inch 1080 by 540 IPS display with an 18:9 aspect ratio. In the camera department, we have a 16-megapixel rear camera and a 5-megapixel front camera. Nothing special here, no optical image stabilization either, which is to be expected. It does say it has Face ID, but it does not include a secondary camera for that. It's just the front camera that takes an image of your face to unlock the phone. Both cameras can also record in 1080p. The battery in this is rated at 3000 mAh, and that's fairly generous considering the size of the device. As for charging the phone up, you do get 10-watt fast charging. The OS is Android 11, that is completely stock. No bloatware on this phone, which is great to see. Our connectivity options and other features are just Wi-Fi, 2.4GHz and 5GHz, Bluetooth 5.0, GPS, NFC, which is good to see on this little device, USB Type-C running at USB 2.0, and in the sensor department, it does say Face ID, but as I said, there's no secondary camera for that. Proximity sensor, accelerometer, magnetic sensor, gyroscope, NFC, and a light sensor. There is no fingerprint sensor on this phone either. It would have been good to see, but it's just limited to the Face ID or Face Unlock, unfortunately. Now we come to the networks. This doesn't support a lot of bands, but here they are. Please make sure you check with your network providers to make sure your country supports these bands. I've already tested this phone on Vodafone, Telstra and Optus, the 3 major telcos here in Australia, and I do have a strong 4G signal with all of them. However, there is a note on AliExpress that says North America can't work. Choose to ship from the US is the US version. So with that little note, I can't stress enough to double check with your country and carrier bands for compatibility, because I'd hate for you to buy this and then you get it in your country and it just doesn't pick up any networks. The SIM tray will have the option to install 2 nano SIM cards, both running at 4G, or 1 nano SIM and a micro SD card. In the box, we get the phone, USB cable, charger, a Q card, user manual, and a a protective case. And that is all the specifications for the CUBOT Pocket. I'll take a quick look at some of the pictures in the listing, and then we'll get to the unboxing. So here we have the three colors on display: red and black, all black, and green and gold. And honestly, it does look pretty nice for what it is. As I said, I received the black version. I would have liked the red and black, as that's my color choice, but I'll settle on what I've received. Here's a picture of just the rundown of everything. So the 4-inch palm size, the 4GB RAM and 64 gigs of storage, 3000 mAh battery, Android 11, NFC, portable and stylish design. 3000 mAh battery. Try to configure a battery with a large capacity for this small space as much as possible. It can last a whole day of normal usage, which for a 3000 mAh battery should get you through a day, but I will test this later in the review. Now you do have a reference of how small this phone is compared to a normal phone and a big phone. The big phone looks like a Note 10 Plus, but the camera's over that way instead of centered, and the second phone kind of looks like a Wacom device. But yeah, this is a 4-inch phone. It's rare to come across smaller phones from manufacturers now. Everyone's just going for bigger and better phones, and I do miss the days of smaller devices. To get a screen size anything below 4.7 inches, it is very rare to come by, so there is a very niche market for this, for people who want a very small and compact device. And speaking of how small it is, it's mainly intended to be a one-headed device, and it's also good to just squeeze into the pocket of your skinny jeans or dress pants. And it also says the charm of 4-inch. I won't get too much into that anyways, but yeah, you can pretty much put this anywhere. It's not as small as the Soiz phones that I've looked at, which I'll have a card pop out of the top right hand corner if you want to take a look at them, but not that small, a bit bigger than them. I'm also just going to show the three colors on screen really quickly, you know, in nice little ways that they've presented them, but there's one in particular that I like the most, and that's this guy right here, just holding the phone, looking very suave, very professional with his CUBOT Pocket there, which if I was to do it, I'd look a little something like this. Unfortunately, I lack the professionalism and confidence that this man has. So there's absolutely everything for the listing, the advertising, and the specifications. So the question is this budget phone from CUBOT a pocket rocket? Let's jump to the unboxing and find out. Here it is here. This was sent to me from the Netherlands for some particular reason. It took 30 days to get from the Netherlands to me, which is just very odd. I've never had this happen before. So if anyone can explain what happened here, feel free. Slicing this open, let's see what color I got. Here it is here. So we do have the basic specifications that we've already been over in the spec list at the start. Just another quick note with the back of the box. At the top it says 4-inch QHD Plus display. Now QHD Plus, spelt that way, is actually for a screen that's 2560 by 1440, I believe. It's supposed to have a lowercase q, then HD Plus, which is 1080 by 540 or thereabouts. So a small little mistake on CUBOT's part. This isn't too much of an issue, but I thought I'd quickly point it out. As you can see this box in the thumbnail, and before even publishing this video, I've already had one person ask about that, so just figured I'd clear that up. And we got the black color, unfortunately. Would have been nice to get red, but it is what it is. I will say the presentation of the box is quite minimalistic and looks fairly good, but one more layer of plastic, and now we can see what the CUBOT Pocket looks like. Well, we already know what it looks like. Come on, out you come. There it is. So out of the box, it does have the included case already on it, but we'll leave that to the side for now because we'll check the accessories within the box. Oh, we have a warning here too. Please do not use the machine for high temperature or harsh environment, undetachable battery. Oh, thank you. That's alright, no worries. We'll be tearing it down, so we'll avoid that. Inside of here, we do get the charger, which is just a 10-watt charger, but that is just a standard Type A port on there. USB Type A to Type C cable is included. They also include this cool little SIM eject tool, which I kind of like that. I don't have one with plastic on the top, so that's a first. Any stickers or anything in here? Or is it just warranty guides, booklets, all that sort of good stuff there? We know what that's about. Let's take a look at our phone. Alright, so let's take the case off it first. So that's the case there, and that's our little phone here. And also take this off as well. Oh, wait. There was a noise that was just made from a phone where I don't know where that's from. Does that make sense? Probably not. That's okay. Alright, so taking the screen protector off reveals the screen, which we can't really see too much of it now, but when I power this on, I'll get to show you the chin on this. Build-wise, it is all plastic with glass on the front, and hopefully to get inside of it, I would just take these screws out and it would just pop off, I'd assume, but the back has nice texture to it, so you can grip this tiny little device in one hand and off you go. You can just one hand use it. 16 megapixel camera on the back there with an LED flash just under it. Both the IMEIs there, which I will now take this off so I can get a better look at the back there. See? It does look Kind of luxurious, I will say that. We do have the Type-C USB port at the bottom, but no headphone jack unfortunately. Power button at the top, nothing there, and we have the volume rocker as well as the SIM tray. And that grippy textured plastic is also on the sides of the device as well, so it's not gonna go anywhere, but if you put the case on it, it definitely won't go anywhere. Now, just as a very quick comparison, here is an iPhone 8 against the CUBOT Pocket. And as you can see, there is a considerable difference. And the iPhone 8 is the same size as the iPhone SE 2022, which is still available on the market. So you get an idea of the size comparison just there. And this has a 4.7-inch display as opposed to the 4-inch display on that. I won't show you the front of this because it's cracked to smithereens, so I can't really give you a good idea on that, but it's just a general comparison right there from what we've already seen in the listing. Also, just a thickness comparison between the iPhone 8 and the CUBOT Pocket just there, so it's almost the size of two iPhone 8s stacked on top of one another. So yes, it is a little bit thicker than most devices. I mean, an example of a device at this size would be the Xiaomi, was it Shin 2? I think that's how you pronounce it. I'll cut that review up the top here if you want to take a look at it, but that was a fairly compact device that was fairly capable, honestly. Also, because why not, here is the S21 Ultra next to the CUBOT Pocket. That's my daily driver. This is in fact a very tiny device, which is cool. Taking the SIM tray out reveals that we have to put the tray in upside down. That makes sense. Once again, you do have the option for 2 nano SIMs or 1 micro SD card and a nano SIM. I'll install 2 nano SIMs, 1 Vodafone and a Telstra one, and see if I get dual 4G. So they go in upside down. So take note of that. Don't put it in the wrong way. There we go. So here we go. It is alive, and there we go. So you do get to see that there's a considerable chin on there, as well as up the top there. So they didn't take a full advantage of the real estate that they had to work with, but what is on here should be good enough. There's like a considerable chin just there, and we should see setup, I think. There we go. We do appear to have 4G with Telstra, but the Vodafone SIM hasn't picked up anything. Granted, it actually may not be working because I haven't used the Vodafone SIM in quite a while, but we'll continue with setup. So we do have 5 GHz Wi-Fi as well as 2.4 GHz, so I will connect to my network, and sure enough, I can type in my details using one hand if I wanted to. I don't have to use two. I mean, you can if you wanted to, but it's extremely cramped. It's more a one-handed device, but standard Gboard just there like so. I mean, I will say at this point in time, the screen does actually look quite nice, but when we get into a wallpaper, I'll show you it properly. I'll also sign into my Gmail to set everything up. So let me try and type in my email with 2 hands and see how this, nope, that's not going to work. Okay. All right. You might have, nope, that didn't work either. Let's just stick with one hand. There we go. That's about right. I'll set a pin now so I can set up Face ID or Face Unlock. Google Assistant is also available if you want to use that, but I'll just skip that. Google Pay is also available since this has NFC, which I will test that soon. And we can change some other settings here, but I think we are all good. Let's boot into the home screen. Here we go. We've booted up, and that there is completely stock Android. There is no bloatware on here whatsoever. It is the absolute essentials that you would get with a hello to you too. Normal Pixel device or any other phone that is just bare bones stock Android, this is it right here, so that is really good to see. Also, right at the top of the device is actually a little notification LED that they've put in there. It's really rare to come across notification LEDs on phones nowadays, but it's good to see one on here. Swapping down from the top, we do have our normal shortcuts like Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, sound, mobile data, torch, which I'll quickly test. I've set up a bunch of new lights, so I have to turn all of them off now. That's actually not too bad, to be honest. We'll see how that goes during the camera test. Location, nearby share, NFC, battery saver, aeroplane mode, that's what it says. Screenshot, screencast, screen record, nightlight, auto rotate, and long screenshot. So let me get my test NFC card here and we'll just see if it detects. There it is there. There we go. So it's about here somewhere. Right there. That little NFC tag is not connected to a card or anything, so don't worry. It's completely safe. It's all good. And actually, I've just realized now, Vodafone has picked up 4G, but it's Telstra that's not working on 3G. On that note, let me do the call test and see what it sounds like. What is the default ringtone on our CUBOT Pocket? CUBOT Pocket. Oh, it's Flutie phone. Hello. Wow. That's loud. That is very loud. Holy moly.
Testing the earpiece quality on the CUBOT Pocket. This is with Vodafone, and the earpiece is actually quite loud because it's the actual speaker in the phone itself, so it's 2-in-1 here. And yeah, I held it up to my head, and honestly, it's quite loud for what it is. And the microphone quality on the CUBOT Pocket sounds a little something like this. And as you'll hear during the camera test, you'll hear that it's pretty clear. So honestly, earpiece and microphone quality on this, pretty good for this tiny little device. So let's continue on.
So I'm happy to report that the earpiece is exceptionally loud. That's because that also doubles as the loudspeaker in this unit. And as you heard during the call test, you're definitely not going to miss hearing anyone on the other end of your phone call because that's fairly loud as it is. And once I get BFG Division on here, we'll see how loud that actually is. So I just ran into a small issue. My Telstra SIM that I did put in here, unfortunately, doesn't work anymore. Since I haven't put any credit on it, Telstra has disabled it, but I've put another Telstra SIM in here and we do have dual 4G now. So that is really good to see. So you can just put two SIM cards in here, both will run at 4G, no problems. And you also have VO LTE support on for both of them. So I've now swapped to a single SIM and my micro SD card. So we'll continue on. So I'll hold the main screen and we can see home settings, which has all the usual stuff that you'd see on a completely stock Android device. And I don't think I need to customize anything here, so I will leave that. In wallpapers, we do have the one that's already pre-applied, which does look pretty nice. Then we do have this cracked red sort of textured looking one. That's pretty cool. And we do have this one, which I'm not too sure what that's inspired from. Kind of Huawei looking to me. Probably not. Sort of a blue sort of pattern there. That's kind of nice. Some orange blobs going on there. That's kind of looking a little Samsung Android 4.4.2 sort of thing. All black textured there, looking nice. And just a very minimalistic blue one there. But I will apply this one here just so you can get a better idea at the screen quality. And for a 4-inch display at 1080 by 540, it's pretty sharp for what it is. I will say that. The colors are fairly crisp. I mean, if this resolution was on a 7-inch device, it would look pretty terrible. But since that resolution is down to a 4-inch display, it looks pretty good the way it is. Also with stock Android is the usual widgets, which you can add to the main screen there to have shortcuts to wherever you need to go to. But otherwise, I will leave that for now. But what I will do is jump straight into settings. So network and internet, we've pretty much been over. 2.4 gigahertz as well as 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi, dual 4G, anything else in here? Not really. Connected devices, Bluetooth, Android Auto, and NFC is all available there. You can connect to a Chromebook if you wanted to. Apps and notifications. We'll quickly scroll through here. We shouldn't see anything out of the ordinary here. I mean, aging test is something I haven't really seen before, but alright. However, everything else in here should be completely stock as far as I can tell. It looks completely stock anyways. But I will just scroll through here real quick. You can skip this if you want to. You don't have to watch me scrolling through here. I'm just looking to see if I can see anything, and it's just all the system files. Sprotrum, I did see, because Unisoc is Sprotrum. Was Sprotrum. It's now called Unisoc. Such a weird name. But anyways, just keep going here. Oh, we won't have Best Order because this is not MediaTek, will we? I don't know. But that's about... I didn't see Face ID or Face Unlock. I probably went straight past it, but there you go. That's everything there. And that does look fairly stock. I didn't see anything that could have been out of the ordinary. And of course, within apps and notifications, you can set your default apps. All the usual stuff you would expect to see. Battery, we are at 39%. I will do the battery and charging test later on, and we'll come back to that. But I will put on the battery percentage so I can see what's going on. In display, we have brightness, dark theme. If you want to put that on, I'll just leave it as light theme. Night light, colors and contrast, if you wanted to change the contrast or anything. But I think that looks quite sharp. Look at the crayons. Honestly, it does look pretty good for what it is. In sound, the phone ringtones are Fluty Phone. And if we go to advanced, we don't have anything else. Yeah, since this isn't MediaTek, there's no Best Order or anything like that. Storage, we have the 64 gigabytes of internal storage, as well as my micro SD card being 16 gigabytes. Privacy doesn't have terribly much in here, so we'll leave that. Location is off. Security, here we go. We can do the Face Unlock now. Now, it does say in the listing Face ID, and it does say a sensor being Face ID, but I can just only see the front-facing camera there and a couple of light sensors. So let's open up Face Unlock and enroll my face and see what happens. Yeah, it's the default one on Android. That is just using the front camera there. So I'll just set up my face. That was very quick. And now I should be all good to go. I can just look at the phone. And there we go. Done. I'll just do that again for good measure. Nice and fast, easy. It's not super secure since it's just taking a photo of your face with the front camera and going, yep, that's the person, unlock the phone. It's very easy to manipulate, so I wish there would have been a fingerprint sensor included on this device, but I guess they kind of ran out of room, I suppose. Accounts I've already signed into, so I don't need to go in there. Accessibility, as most of the options that you would need in here, like talkback, you can change the font size, display size, magnification, color correction, anything like that, remove animations. I'll go into developer options and actually put the animations down to 0.5, so then the phone feels a little bit faster. A couple of other shortcuts within here. You can also change the system navigation to gesture navigation. This is once again a bit of a problem for me because I'm just not used to gestures. I can use iPhone gestures, but not Android ones you know, as well as I should be able to. If you wanted to change it from buttons to gestures, you can absolutely do that, but there's no pill or anything like that. It's just straight up gestures. But now with gestures, you do get that extra screen real estate just there, which I guess is kind of good. And just quickly with the gesture settings, that's as much as you can do there. So yeah, you can't have the little pill there and the back button. It's just as it is. So I will stick with 3-button navigation because that's what I'm used to. Digital wellbeing and parental controls, if you want to use that, if you're going to give this phone to a kid or something like that, you can absolutely go in there and set everything you need to. Google services and preferences, don't need to do much there. In system, we do have the option for a system update, and there is an update available, but the battery is too low. I will perform the system update when I've charged the battery up, and I'll come back to this. And in About Phone, the device name is just Pocket. The RAM is there, both IMEIs are there. We'll just trigger the Easter egg. There it is there. Pump it up to 11. There we go. There's a little cat icon there, and I'm not too sure how to use the Easter egg on Android 11. Do have the baseband version, the kernel version, as well as the build number just there, and the serial number actually has Pocket in it, so that's kind of cool. So I'll turn the animation duration scale down, and there we go. It's nice and responsive now. I know it doesn't actually help performance, it just feels faster, that's all. Alright, since we are looking at stock Android here, there is not much I really need to test in terms of applications. I can test camera, audio, YouTube, gaming, all that sort of stuff, but I wouldn't need to go into Assistant, Calculator, and all that stuff since you already know what it is. Let's start with camera. We won't allow the access to location because why not? And if we start capture, here it is here. It looks fairly stock. We have autofocus as well with HDR and beauty mode. We also have a 4x digital zoom. We've got capture, burst, pro, panorama. We also have video, which we can record video on the back camera in 1080p, 720p, and 480p. Swapping to the front camera, we do have 1080p available on the front camera as well. And on the front camera, do we have autofocus? No, we do not, unfortunately, but we do have beauty mode, which is on by default, and HDR, which is kind of cool. I can also add the CUBOT watermark to the pictures if I wanted to. I might just do that for the whole sake of it, why not? Picture quality is going to be super fine, and 16 megapixels for the back camera, and it should be 5 for the front. Before we jump into the camera test, there is an option here called touching photograph. I have a feeling that touches up. It uses some sort of AI to touch up the photo that you take. I'll just leave that off. But let me go ahead and take some photos with the CUBOT Pocket, and we'll come back and see how good this is, and I'll also do the battery test, do some updates, and play around with this device, and we'll come back and continue on with this review. Testing the rear camera quality on the CUBOT Pocket in the middle of the day. If we just go up to the froggos here, we can see them nice and clear, nice and sharp. Well, from what I can see on the tiny 4-inch display, everything's looking fairly nice so far, and some electronic image stabilization is going on. But now let's come over to those weirdo flowers. Look at those. No idea what these are, but there's some bugs flying off them, so I assume that they're tasty. I have no idea, man. 3 Muppets, right there. There's some cobwebs on you, buddy. That's okay. You'll be fine. Also, it's been several weeks since I took a photo with this lemon here, and it's still just pristine. So that's something. The brick wall looks a little something like this. Where's the random bolts? Right there. Stuart is also right there, baking in the afternoon sun. He's looking fairly happy. The lemon tree itself is, well, as you can see, there's not a lot going on there. But the faraway aircon is looking a little something like that with a 4x digital zoom, and you can't see breeze air on it, unfortunately, so that's that. but the sky is blue. It's very, very blue today. So now it's night time with the LED flash on, and there is the froggos there at night time, having a good time. And I can autofocus in, and everything is looking pretty good. For, you know, this device anyways, it's not too bad. And the lemon tree looks like that at night time. Can't really see it. Also, the moon is looking like that. Can we zoom in on the moon? Hey, there he is there. Hello. Yes, hello. Do you think the CUBOT Pocket's good? No? You don't know? Are you gonna flop? You don't know. That's a flop. That's the seal of approval there. The good old flop. Yes, good old flop. Happy Kibby. Yes. This isn't the front camera quality on the CUBOT Pocket. This is what it looks like. It doesn't look too bad from what I can see. I mean, it's only a 4-inch display. No autofocus, of course. But it looks okay. I can zoom in. That's not good. Well, I mean, it looks okay, but I mean, this doesn't look good. Otherwise, yeah, it's okay. Some sort of stabilization going on as well, which isn't too bad either. There's no jelly movement. Look at that. That's me circling the phone around. There's no jelly movement. So, well done, CUBOT Pocket. You're doing good. I'm pretty happy with this. Okay, you've just seen the quality of the photos and videos that I took with the CUBOT Pocket, and while the performance of the cameras isn't really anything special, it still does a fairly good job for the price and size of this unit. I can say the photos definitely look pretty sharp, but the front camera is just fairly average. Video quality for the rear camera looked good on the display, but not so much the actual footage. It's okay, it will do. I think what CUBOT have put in this is more than enough for the niche market that this is intended for. But anyways, that's camera quality done. I did install the system update that did appear previously, the 20 meg update, which was just a security patch. So it was on April 2022, it's now on June 2022. So hopefully this does keep receiving security updates from CUBOT. I'll have to check with them and see if that's going to be the case or not, but we've got one. That's good. And now to talk about the battery life on this. I'll display some screenshots just to the side. So this was just only on standby with Wi-Fi, cellular, and just whatever default stuff is on in the background. This was just sitting on the desk, and pretty much it could sit there for a couple of days, no problems. And in terms of charging speed, it took about 45 minutes to charge from 52% to full, which is quite right for this. But then, when it comes down to the actual battery life itself, if you're going to be using really intensive stuff, like I was playing Genshin Impact, I had to install Genshin Impact and play it until the sort of first mission was over, until I could change these settings. And from it downloading the 16 gig package to verifying the files and stuff, from 100% it was down to 66%. So I would say anything that is intensive with this, if you're going to put this under heavy usage, the battery life is not going to last. But for normal standard usage, for calls, messages, browsing, social media, whatever, you should be able to easily get a day, which would be 12 hours of solid use before you'd have to charge this again. With smaller devices, you can only go so far with the battery capacity, so they couldn't exactly put a 5000 mAh battery in this because they've only got so much room to be able to do it. So when I tear this down, I want to take a look and see how big the battery is and if they've maximized the real estate that they had available for this unit. Also, while testing this device just in normal circumstances, I did find that it heats up quite quickly. Not to the point of being extremely hot, but it does warm up considerably. And altogether, the experience with this device I can say is honestly quite positive. It's hard getting used to one-hand typing with the keyboard again, but pretty much everything is accessible with one hand, and all the apps on this phone pretty much open straight away. There's not really any lag or anything while using this. If there was a phone this size running Android with some flagship specs, I'd be definitely interested in picking one up. I also did a GPS test with this, using Google Maps that's on here. I just used this to navigate to a place 5 minutes away. In my car, had it on charge, and it was no problems whatsoever. Didn't have any issues, so GPS on this is quite okay. With all that said and done, let's open up Google Chrome and check the performance of the browser. And I will say with using this, I'm alternating between using it as a one-handed device and then going back to two. It's just natural for me to just use a phone now with two hands. Using it with one, I can get used to it again, but I haven't used a phone in one hand since, I don't know, my iPhone 4, I think. That long ago. But otherwise, using the browser is going to be absolutely fine. You can go ahead and open up the CUBOT website. Let's see how fast it loads, just for example. Shouldn't be too long. There you go. Everything's nice and snappy. All in grasping is the tagline for this. It's kind of fitting, I suppose. it works. Amazing compact that it is, nice compact little device. Using this for social media and browsing, you'll have no problems with this whatsoever. The specifications in this unit are more than sufficient for what you need, and I didn't see any significant battery drain while using the browser in my testing, so everything is all good here. Next up is the YouTube test, and of course I'll be using the Costa Rica in 4K video. Alright, putting it to full screen, we'll just change the quality to 1080p 60 FPS. I'll just bump the volume up. And as you can see, nice and smooth. Once again, the display quality is quite nice for this. All the colours are nice and sharp, nice and vivid. They could have put an AMOLED in this, but I think an IPS LCD with this tiny little device is quite fine. And as you heard during that and the call test, the speaker is quite loud, so it's only fitting to actually test the speaker and see what it sounds like with BFG Division. I think I got to about 101.3, which is pretty good for this, and the speaker quality isn't actually too bad, as we all would have expected. I mean, it sounded good during the call quality, during the YouTube test, and now during this. It's more than enough. Obviously, there was no space inside of this to put an actual proper loudspeaker, so they just integrated the earpiece and the loudspeaker as one. Just no headphone jack, unfortunately, and no adapter in the box either, but that can be fixed with just buying an adapter on eBay for $2, or using Bluetooth earphones, which is the thing nowadays. Once again, I will praise the speaker on this. It beats Wacom devices, #1, so that's absolutely fantastic, and it's just about right for the volume that I'd expect from something like this. So all is good here, let's move on. At this point in time, the only things left are applications to double check the specs, Genshin Impact, Ark Survival Evolved, and Geekbench 5. So I'm going to run Geekbench 5 to check the numbers with that and see if it beats any other devices that I've looked at in the past in terms of price. Don't expect too much with Geekbench 5 either, it's just numbers at the end of the day, but I wouldn't expect to see high-end stuff here, obviously. We'll give it a go and run the benchmark, and we'll be back in a moment. Okay, the scores are in. We got 374 for the single core and 743 for the multi-core score. These numbers are actually considerably higher than what I was expecting, and I'll just display some other results here. So for example, the AGM H3, which is a $229 US phone, has a MediaTek Helio P22 in it, and that got 151 single but 881 multi. And the Unihertz Titan, while that's $750 odd, that has a Helio P60 in it, and single core was $299 and multi was $1455. Performance wise, shouldn't be too bad in this. However, I have played Genshin Impact, and I can tell you, gaming's not really a strong suit of this. Maybe older games, yes, but more intensive ones like Genshin and Ark Survival Evolved, don't expect too much. So with that being said, let me show you what Genshin Impact looks like. This is Genshin Impact on the absolute lowest settings that I could put it on. And while it does run, as you can see, it is running probably at about maybe 7 or 8 frames a second, maybe a bit more actually. It gets smoother in some areas, but then it'll just become quite laggy again. Not that you can see much anyways, because the real estate on the screen, but yeah, if I just go ahead and attack...
Wow, what is that?
I have no idea. If you're wondering what Genshin Impact would look like on the absolute highest settings on this, let me change them and show you. So right now everything's on completely bare bones minimum, and I'll just bump everything up to absolute highest because why not? Okay, while this isn't the absolute highest settings that it can get to, it looks nice now. It looks really, really nice. But it's also still pretty laggy, and you're not going to get too far with this. You're best to put it on all low if you're going to be planning on playing Genshin Impact on this tiny little device. Also, I plan to feature San Andreas on here, but that just refused to boot. It would show a grey screen and then nothing. I tried several different things and it just wouldn't boot, so unfortunately can't show that test, but we'll just settle on Genshin and Ark Survival Evolved for the gaming test, because you'll get a rough idea of the performance of this. Alright, so with everything on the lowest settings, you can see just by the title screen, it's not going to look very impressive and play impressive, but here we go. This is what it's going to look like. And here we go. Well, actually, it's not half bad, to be honest. I was expecting it to run absolutely terrible, but this is all on low, and I can see that the quality's not exactly the greatest. But if you wanted to play Ark Survival Evolved, you absolutely could. Yeah, it's not half bad. I will admit that. It's not half bad. The single core performance on this was actually a bit better than I was expecting in Geekbench 5, so there is some performance in this, just not too much of it. Hey dinosaur, how you doing? Hey buddy, hey, where'd you go? Oh, hello, how you doing? Yeah, that's what a dinosaur looks like on here. Yeah, gonna attack me. He's a happy dinosaur, he's just, you know, chilling, as he does. Okay, see you mate, bye! And now for the whole sake of it, let me just put it on the absolute maximum settings, just so you can see what it looks like. Yep, that's probably not a good sign there. Probably not a good idea to have done that. Just stick with low, you'll be fine on low settings. Just quickly open up the spec applications, just double check the specs real quickly, and also perform a multi-touch test, as it would be impressive to see if this is a 5-point multi-touch display instead of just a 2 on regular budget devices. So in DeviceInfoHW, we've got the resolution of the display, Android 11, we've got the RAM and the flash, which is eMMC, unfortunately. System on chip is the Unisoc Tiger T310, as we all know, and the GPU is listed there. In system, we have everything listed just here. I'll just scroll through there. There we go. That's it. Uptime 4 days. There you go. It actually has something for fingerprint there. I wonder if there's actually a connector on the motherboard for a fingerprint, but they didn't have space to implement it. Screen is 1080 by 540, and if we do the multi-touch test, it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5-point multi-touch. Not bad. Memory, 4GB, 64GB of internal storage, 16 megapixels, and 5 megapixels for the front. In battery, we've got 3000 mAh, which is all correct. And in sensors, we've got everything but a barometer. But I don't have any doubts, this is a legitimate device. It's not a welcome device, so I shouldn't really be questioning the specs, but I'm just doing it just in case, you never know. And in saying that, I've got Activity Launcher up next, because when going through the applications, there was that aging test, and I just wanted to know what aging test was, and I found out what aging test is. So it is actually a test menu for testing the speakers, cameras, all that sort of stuff. So you just start this and you can do that if you wanted to. I mean, it is normal for manufacturers to include a factory application hidden within the specs, just test it. If they receive a device for warranty, they can just open it up and double check everything. Yeah, I pretty much went through this list earlier and I didn't see anything else that could have been sort of, you know, out of the ordinary. But if you did see something, feel free to let me know and I can always double check it and let you know. But, oh, here's Saga test. Or Sager test? Flash test config. Oh, okay. That's in Chinese. I don't know what that says. Let me try the other one here. Oh, okay. So this is testing the RAM and flash in this. So that's pretty nifty. But otherwise, everything else is all looking fairly good, and I will leave it just here because that's it. That's everything that I need to test on this device. So basically, to sum this up really quickly, if you want a compact 4G phone that's under $200 Australian, this one may be for you. However, as I mentioned during the intro, the CUBOT King Kong Mini 2 is $150 Australian and is basically the same thing as this. This is just a little bit more better in the spec department. But if you are not looking for a mini device, then the Poco M4 Pro is readily available for $260 Australian, but that is a bigger device, of course. So these mini phones have their own little market, and you really have to be in that market looking for mini devices, or else you'll end up just finding phones much bigger that will offer a lot better performance for the price, but just not in this package, of course. But I will give you a proper conclusion after I do the teardown, because that's what I want to do next, is tear this apart and have a look at the innards and just see how it's all laid out. Let's power this off. Off we go. And now I've got to figure out how to pull it apart. Hopefully the screen doesn't come off first. I have a feeling it's the back that comes off first, but we'll see when I take out these 4 screws. I was taking a look earlier, trying to look at how it's being put together, and yeah, I have a feeling it's just these 4 screws that come out, and then it should just pop open. Let's hope so. There we go. I was sitting here trying to work it out. It's alright, I was doing it the wrong way. There we go. We're in. So on the back is the NFC pad right there, which takes up majority of the back casing. So when you go to use this on an NFC device like so, it'll pick it up nice and easy because it's situated right in the middle. Here is the battery inside of the unit, which is the 3000 mAh one, but we've got to take out the rest of the screws to have a look at the innards. With all the screws being removed, the back casing can just pop off like so, and there's some GPS antennas just located at the bottom there. There's the battery just there. Honestly, they didn't have much more room to put a high capacity battery in. That is pretty much the absolute biggest battery they're going to put in this. Anything past that is just pretty much a hazard. We all remember what happened with the Note 7. You got to leave a bit of space for the battery, so they have played it very safe with this. We're going to take the motherboard out next, which is just held in by a couple of screws. The volume keys and the power key have to come off as well, as they're connected to the motherboard, but just doing that, I should be able to just lift it out. There's one more connector I forgot. That would be screen ribbon right there. And now it should just all lift out. There we go. So the display is made by Nissan? Not that Nissan, but Nissan. Or Nizen. I mean, it does look like the Nissan text, so maybe there's some no, there's no similarities, but yeah, that's the display right there, and it's just situated into the frame like so. So if you need to order a replacement display, you pretty much just have to get to this point, take the old one out, and put the new one in. Here is the guts, all integrated onto one motherboard. So underneath the shielding and tape here is the processor, the RAM, the flash, Wi-Fi modules, all that sort of good stuff. And in terms of heat dissipation, it's just resting up against the back of the LCD screen, and that's about it. There's no thermal paste, nothing fancy here, and usually with most devices I'll take the shielding off, but I don't need to do this with this one. But what I will do is take these two screws out that hold the back plastic on. Here is the tiny little front 5 megapixel camera just there. There is a code just there, I can't really see that. Taking the back plastics off, which we'll just leave for a second. I've got the vibration motor, which just passes through the plastics and sits in there. Dual SIM card tray, as well as the micro SD card slot. The rear camera, which we'll take a quick look at. There is a tiny little code on there. No optical image stabilization, but there was some signs of electronic image stabilization during the camera test. Okay, and that's the battery. That just sort of snapped off like so. But yeah, that's it there. This is the bare motherboard right here. So just taking a look, we've got the various connectors for the cameras and stuff like that. Some shielding just on the back, the USB Type-C port just there, flipping it over, got the microphone just down there, the shielding for all of the various chips and stuff. We do have a QR code just there, as well as some codes. There we go. If you can see all them. We do have the light sensor just at the top, as well as the notification LED, and some contacts for the GPS and antennas, and that's pretty much it for the CUBOT Pocket. Also taking a look at the rear speaker assembly. So we've got the LED flash just on this little PCB just there, which communicates with the motherboard, and the speaker has these contacts that communicate with the motherboard in order for it to work. That little tiny area is the speaker. And just lifting back the mesh there, you can see the speaker just shining underneath there, so they would have put a speaker that size within there, which resulted in the decent sound that I got during the tests. So while they probably could have put an extra speaker in here, like for example down the bottom where the GPS antennas are, it is easier to just have the 2-in-1 to just save space, I suppose. Looking at this, they probably could have put a headphone jack, and they probably could have put a fingerprint sensor on the side of this device. However, for the price, they probably ran out of options. It's just a weird thing for me that I've noticed from manufacturers, is that the smaller the device, the more the price goes up. I guess because mini versions of phones just aren't as popular as the bigger ones, I guess. I don't know, the weird algorithm that the mobile phone world works. So I will put this back together, we'll see if it works, and I will do the conclusion while I put this back together, and we will finish this video off. Altogether, the CUBOT Pocket is a decent little budget phone. It does a job for most scenarios, and I wish it had more compatibility with networks, maybe a slightly bigger display. A fingerprint sensor also would have been nice to see implemented somewhere, as well as a headphone jack, but I can't complain about it too much. If you were after a small phone with stock Android that doesn't break the bank and would be good as a spare, or perhaps use it as a work phone, this is a fairly reasonable choice. Just don't expect top tier performance from this, and of course you can pick up other phones for around the same price that have more features, but you won't find it in a package this size. While the price to performance ratio isn't exactly the best, and there are other phones on the market that do a much better job, this is okay. But if you do want to save some cash and still get a mini phone, think about the King Kong Mini 2, as it's basically the same thing except waterproof. And that is my complete in-depth review of the CUBOT Pocket. I hope I managed to cover everything with this phone, and since it is a fairly basic phone, I really didn't have to go into all the bells and whistles that other phones offer, but I think my demonstration of this should give people a good idea if this is something you may be interested in purchasing. And of course, if you do want to check this phone out, I'll leave the link in the description below, as well as the pinned comment, and it's not an affiliate link, so I won't own anything from any sales or clicks. It's just there for your convenience. If you want to jump onto Google and go for a quick look and see if it's cheaper elsewhere, then that's all good. And if you actually made it right to the end of the video, I thank you so much for that, and I really hope you enjoyed this review. I will try and get back to the more regular stuff soon, since I basically disappeared for 3 weeks, and now that I'm rambling again, the timestamps are in the description and pinned comment. You know the dealio by now, skip along to wherever, and surprisingly, this video didn't go as long as some of the other ones that I've made in the past, so I guess that's good. Alright, lastly, we've got to give a big thank you to CUBOT for sending me this phone out for a review. I really do appreciate it, of course, and CUBOT did not pay me anything for this review. They just sent me the phone out to me to look at and give my honest thoughts and opinions on, and that's what I have done. And I hope CUBOT will be happy with this review, and maybe they may make a return on this channel in the future. I'm not sure. Let me know your experience with CUBOT devices down below. It will be interesting to hear, as this is the first time I've actually used one properly. Anyways, folks, that's all from me. Thank you so much for watching a more serious review from me, and as I said before, I am am planning to get back to some Wacom phones and stuff like that soon, so stay tuned for that, whenever that will be, of course. But as always, thank you so much for watching, I really appreciate it, and until I see you again, please take care, stay safe, and be good people, and I'll catch you in the next video, which at this point will be something. Not sure. Something. I'll work it out.
If you like this content, feel free to leave a like or a dislike if you didn't. Thanks heaps for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next video.